African tales for your enjoyment.
The Enchanted Deer. In the heart of a small African village nestled between rolling hills and a sacred forest, there lived a beautiful young woman named Ayomide. Her skin glowed like the evening sun, and her laughter filled with the air like the sweet melodies of birds at dawn. Ayomide had always been a mystery to the villagers. Though she was admired by all, she rarely allowed anyone close to her, keeping a distance from those who sought her hand in marriage. Unbeknownst to the villagers, Ayomide held a secret that she had sworn never to reveal. She possessed the power to transform into a graceful, golden-hued deer, a gift passed down from her mother, a member of a long-forgotten lineage of forest spirits. Before I go on, I kindly plead with our first-time viewers to kindly subscribe to our channel. And to our dearest subscribers, thank you for joining us again. Please help to like, drop a comment, and click on the notification bell to always get our new videos. Thank you. When she felt the weight of the world closing in on her, or when she simply longed for solitude, she would slip away into the dense forest, morphing into a deer and running freely through the trees. One day, a handsome young man named Adewale arrived in the village, tall and strong, with a sharp mind and kind eyes. Adewale was a skilled hunter who had come to the village to start a new life. His reputation as a nobleman preceded him, and it wasn't long before the whispers spread of his skill with a spear and his wisdom beyond his years. Adewale's heart was captured the moment he laid eyes on Ayomide. There was something about her that called to him, something more than beauty, something ethereal. He couldn't resist her, and soon he sought her hand in courtship. Ayomide too was drawn to Adewale. Unlike the other suitors, there was a gentleness in his approach. He didn't try to claim her, but instead sought to understand her. Over time, their connection grew into a love so deep that it seemed to intertwine their very souls. However, Ayomide's heart was burdened by her secret. How could she marry Adewale without telling him the truth? What if he discovered her ability to transform into a deer and saw her as a monster? One fateful evening, after a village festival, Ayomide sneaked away to the forest as usual. She transformed into her deer form, her hooves light on the forest floor, the wind whistling softly through her fur. She had barely begun to relish the freedom of her alternate form when she sensed something. Someone was watching her. Startled, she darted through the trees, her heart racing. Unbeknownst to Ayomide, Adewale had followed her that night. He had noticed her slipping away from the festival several times before, and his curiosity had finally gotten the better of him. What he saw stunned him. A golden deer, where Ayomide had once been. He watched in disbelief as the animal ran through the forest with a grace that seemed almost magical. The realization hit him like a lightning bolt. Ayomide was the deer. Adewale's mind raced. He had heard stories of shapeshifters from his grandfather as a boy, but they had always seemed like the tales to frighten children. Now, the love of his life was part of that world. He didn't know how to confront her or if he should at all. Confused and torn, Adewale decided to keep his discovery a secret for now, fearing that Ayomide might flee if she knew that he had seen her. Days turned into weeks, and Adewale tried to act as if nothing had changed, but his heart was heavy with a burden of his knowledge. Meanwhile, Ayomide sensed a growing distance between them, and it pained her deeply. She feared that Adewale was losing interest in her. unaware that it was his struggle with the truth that was driving him away. One evening, during a quiet moment by the riverbank, Adewale could no longer bear the weight of the secret. He took Ayomide's hand and looked onto her eyes with a depth of emotion that caught her off guard. "Ayomide," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "there is something I must ask you, something that has haunted me for weeks." Ayomide's heart raced. She feared what was coming. "I followed you one night," Adewale continued, "into the forest. I saw you change into a deer." A cold silence followed. Ayomide's heart sank. Her deepest fear had come true. She pulled her hands away from Adewale and stood up. Turning her back to him, tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to compose herself. "Adewale," she whispered, "I never wanted you to find out this way. I am not like other women. I carry a curse, or perhaps a gift, from my ancestors. If you can't love me as I am, then I understand." Before she could finish, Adewale stood and gently turned her to face him. "I do love you, Ayomide. Nothing could ever change that. But I am afraid. I don't understand this power, and I fear what it might mean for us. Will you leave me one day to live in the forest? Will you tire of this world?" Ayomide shook her head, her tears flowing freely now. "I would never leave you, Adewale. I transform because it is part of who I am, but my heart belongs to you." Just as it seemed the lovers might find peace, a new challenge arose. Rumors spread throughout the village of a golden deer that had been spotted in the forest, a creature so beautiful that the village chief, a greedy and jealous man, declared it must be hunted down and brought to him. He promised great riches to anyone who could capture it. Adewale's heart sank when he heard the news. The village's best hunters, including some of his closest friends, were already preparing to go after the deer. He knew that Ayomide would be in grave danger if she transformed again. He rushed to her, pleading with her to stay away from the forest. "The hunters are coming for you, Ayomide. You must not go into the woods anymore, at least until they give up." Ayomide, torn between her need to embrace her true self and the danger posed by the hunters, promised Adewale that she would be careful. But the pull of the forest was strong, and one evening she could no longer resist the urge to run free as a deer. That night, she transformed once more and galloped into the heart of the forest, unaware that a group of hunters, including Adewale's best friend, had set traps in the area. As she leaped over a falling log, her hoofs caught in one of the snares and she fell, unable to free herself. Panic set in as she realized the hunters would be upon her soon. Adewale, sensing that something was wrong, followed his instinct into the forest. His heart nearly stopped when he saw Ayomide in her deer form, struggling in the trap. Without hesitation, he freed her, but it was too late. The other hunters had seen them, and they approached, spears in hand. Thinking quickly, Adewale stood between Ayomide and the hunters. "This deer is scared," he shouted. "It belongs to the gods. If you kill it, you will bring a curse upon the village." The hunters hesitated, fear creeping into their hearts. Adewale's reputation as a wise man was well known, and none of them dared to challenge his words. Slowly, they lowered their spears and backed away. That night, as Ayomide and Adewale returned to the village, she knew she could no longer keep a secret from the people. With Adewale by her side, she revealed the truth to the village, telling them of her gift and her lineage. To their surprise, the villagers accepted her, seeing her not as a monster but as a blessing from the spirits who watched over them. In time, Ayomide and Adewale married, their love stronger than ever. Though Ayomide continued to transform into a deer when the forest called to her, she always returned to Adewale, who loved her for who she was, both as a woman and as the enchanted creature she would forever be. And so, their love became a legend, a story told by the elders to remind the villagers that true love knows no boundaries, not even those between walls.